Welcome to Tutorial 5, where we are going to learn about making controlled comparisons. What we are going to learn in this tutorial is to use the tabulate command to analyze relationships when the independent variable and control variable are both categorical, and when the dependent variable is categorical or interval level. We will also show how to produce bar charts and line charts for controlled variables. Let us start with cross-tabulation analysis with a control variable. We want to explore the hypothesis that in comparing individuals, liberals will be more likely to favor the legalization of marijuana than will conservatives. Let us open GSS 2006 and let us run a tab grass PolView 3 column. The PolView 3 variable is a variable that has been created from the exercises of Chapter 3, in particular Exercise 1, on page 54. We can see that liberals favor legalization in comparison to conservatives. However, we want to look at other factors which might affect these results. Dataset GSS 2006 contains the variable kids, which classifies respondents into one of two categories, those with children, labeled 1, and those without children, labeled 0. Let us run the analysis again, controlling for the kids variable. We will use the command prefix by sort, so by sort kids, tab grass, PolView 3, column, and no key. We use the no key to suppress status space consuming tabular key. Let us look at the results. We see that those with children, regardless of ideology, are less likely to think that marijuana should be legalized in comparison with their counterparts who don't have kids. So, for example, 59% of liberals with no children think marijuana should be legal, as opposed to 45% of liberals with children. 25% of conservatives with children think marijuana should be legal, as opposed to 30% of conservatives without children. You can refer to the book for an in-depth discussion on the analysis of these results. Now suppose we want a graphical illustration of these results. The new suffix that we will use is the suffix over. So let us type graph bar mean grass dum1 over kids over polyviews and include ASY vars to enhance the chart appearance. Basically, what we are doing is telling Stata to graph the dependent variable grassDum controlled by the kids variable in relation to the independent variable. This produces for us a crude graph, and with some modifications and editing, which we discussed in the last chapter, the graph can look like this. Now let us turn to conducting a mean comparison analysis with a control variable. But before we do this, let us close GSS 2006 and open NES 2008. Here we will use a variable which we have created in Chapter 3, the married variable. We want to analyze the relationship between religiosity and support for McCain, controlling for marital status. We also need to create a variable relig attend high, so we use the recode command to transform the variable relig attend 3. And here we have our new variable. What we want to do is to compare two sets of mean comparisons, one for unmarried people and one for married people. This will be in conjunction with the McCain thermometer for respondents categorized as low and high on the level of religious attendance. What this will tell us is that by controlling the mean values down the columns, we can see how the control variable, married, affects McCain ratings at each level of the independent variable, religious attendance. As with the previous example, the book contains a very interesting in-depth discussion on the analysis of these results, in addition to illustrations on how to graph these relationships. What this is telling Stata is to produce a line chart where the dependent variable is the McCain group, the independent variable is the attend high, and we use the if qualifier to control for the marital status. So the legend off is used to suppress the legend. And here we get our initial graph. And with some editing using the graph editor, we can make our graph look like this. Remember, you can draw the graphs and charts either by typing the command as we did in this tutorial, or by strictly using the drop-down menus as we did in the last tutorial, or a combination of both. You should choose whatever makes you more comfortable. This brings us to the end of the 5th tutorial. Remember to save your work, and let us now move on to tutorial 6.